Welcome to Coruzant Technologies, home of the Digital Executive Podcast.
Welcome to the Digital Executive. Today's guest is Rahul Powar. Rahul Powar is a serial entrepreneur, technologist, and leader. Prior to Sift, he founded AppSmart, which was acquired by Thomson Reuters Corporation in 2012. At Thomson Reuters, he served as the head of advanced products and innovation. In a previous life, he was part of the founding team and principal technical architect of Shazam. Before the launch of the iTunes App Store, he envisioned and created the first Shazam iPhone app. Well, good afternoon, Rahul. Welcome to the show.
Great. Thank you, Brian. Happy to be here.
This is amazing. Thank you. And I appreciate you jumping on. You're currently over in the country of Spain, so I appreciate the time differences and coordinating this schedule. So I certainly appreciate it. And Rahul, we're going to jump right into the questions here so we can get your story out. You've got quite the career in technology. You're an executive, an entrepreneur, and now you're the founder and CEO of Sift. Could you share with our audience the secret to your career growth and what inspires you?
Yeah, good question. I like to think that I managed my career quite by accident, as it was never a conscious objective. I think for me, quite simply, I really wanted to solve problems, and I guess that'll resonate with a lot of people. Early on in my life, I was focused on building things. I'd take a lot of Lego, like most kids of my generation, and generally into making new things with my sets. And then when I got my first computer, that became a new way to make new things. I coded up some really basic games in BASIC back then, but it kind of gave me the bug. So over time, my desire was really to make things that solve problems. And what changed was the type of problems I wanted to spend my energy solving. So initially I focused on things that were fun. And then of course I started to focus on things that taught me something new. And now I've added a focus on problems that really matter more broadly to people and society at large. So, ideally I get to solve problems that tick all of these boxes, and that gets me really energized. So, for example, right now at Sift, we build AI-powered solutions for cybersecurity that are trying to build a safer internet for all of us. And there's some really interesting problems to solve there. I'm a big believer in technology as the best tool we have for building a better future, and I want to be part of that solution. So that's why I think I have done and continue to do the things that I'm doing right now.
That's awesome. I appreciate you sharing that. And I know that a lot of people do want to provide solutions or provide a service or just serve people in general. And that really inspires and really helps people find their purpose. But leveraging technology is one way to do that. And I appreciate, again, the share. So Rahul, let's talk about the pandemic, right? We hope it's starting to lift, but we're seeing some different things coming back, right? But what are your plans for business growth going forward? And will it be any different than the last 16 months?
Yeah, I think like most businesses, obviously we're a business filled with people who, provide and develop the technology that we productize and take to market. And, obviously, the pandemic has been a difficult time for the people. I think just sort of ways of working and getting used to a new normal, along with all of the challenges that one would expect when surrounded by a health crisis of this scale. But that being said, it's also been a very exciting time for us because, I think we, as a lot of other people have observed, we've seen about 5 years of digitization, pretty much crammed into 8-9 months. So we've seen lots and lots of businesses of, in every geography, in every vertical, that are really getting to grips with what it means to be a digital first business in the century. And then, the impact of that, for us specifically, it's the need to secure that distributed workforce. It's the need to secure, new workflow architectures that, don't rely on everyone being in the same building. And we think a lot of these changes are durable. So we're continuing to see a lot of energy and focus around these moves to the cloud, these moves to a more technology and a more technology-enabled and distributed workforce, and of course the security initiatives that need to be put in place so that all of this stuff, is workable in what is otherwise a fairly hostile cybersecurity environment. So, we're excited about where this is taking us, and we're seeing, even as people are starting to go back into the office in some territories and in some geographies, we're still seeing a lot of cybersecurity teams really doubling down on getting a lot of these initiatives out there, whether that's to do with endpoint security or cloud security or brand and reputation monitoring, et cetera, et cetera. So I think the next 16 months is going to be quite exciting for us.
Thank you for sharing. And you're absolutely right. We've talked to several hundred guests on this show just in the last probably 12, 14 months about the innovation. And you mentioned the 5-year mark, and I think you're spot on with that. So thank you for sharing. And Rahul, you're obviously leveraging some new and emerging technologies within your tech stack. Is there anything you might be able to share with us today?
I think the specifics might be less relevant for your listeners, but I think from a trend perspective, we're seeing, I think there are two really interesting trends that we're excited about when we think about cybersecurity. And one is the sort of rise of standards, as I call it. It's, essentially cybersecurity by design. We're not looking at a future where everyone's running these like magic solutions that try and keep their network security perimeter secure. We're looking at a future where the industry as a whole tries to build security into the way technology works and interoperates by default. And as you can imagine, that's a much more powerful way of building durable security across the entire internet. And at Redshift, we're very heavily involved with the rollout of these new standards in a way that businesses can benefit from and embrace in a manner that is, manageable for them, because sometimes these standards can be opaque, they can be a little bit complicated, they can be challenging to deploy. So, we're seeing on a regular basis these new standards come out. We're helping organizations adopt those standards and roll them out across their entire internet estate. And that's having a really dramatic impact, because when you bake it into the fabric of the internet, security can have really big implications. And that's happening right now. So, I'm pretty optimistic that over the next, let's say, 3 to 5 years, the internet will actually be a much safer place than it is today, because it'll be much more difficult for the bad guys to abuse a lot of the weaknesses that were just never designed for when these things were put together in the first place. And I think the other trend, of course, is the oft talked about AI. And when you think about it in the context of security, AI allows you to do things that are very complicated at scale. And then when you start to bind them with these standards that help building better infrastructure at scale, you start to get something really powerful. So, at Redshift, I like to think we're kind of working at the intersection of these two big macro trends that I think will transform cybersecurity over a very short period of time.
I love that. And, you're absolutely right. Talking about security, the forethought, right? They say hindsight's 2020, but the forethought around building apps and the internet over time, we didn't think about security. And I think moving forward, and I would agree with you, if security is top of mind as we build the future and build new apps, we'll definitely be much more secure. So I'm looking forward to that secure day when we can breathe a little easier. So thank you for sharing. And so, Rahul, last question. Can you share something from your career experience that might be helpful for those looking to grow their career in tech or entrepreneurship?
That's a really, really interesting question. I often try and avoid dishing out, very specific instructional advice. I think it's a very peculiar form of nostalgia. Things that have worked for me may not be relevant for really anyone else. But if I zoom all the way back out, I would think, well, what is it that I feel has helped me be successful in the things that I've done? I think most generally, I think it's important for you to figure out what matters to you and why you're doing the thing that you're doing. I mean, I've heard over the years, many comments about work and the relationship that people have with work. Sometimes they say, it's just a job. But in truth, we spend most of our lives either training or preparing for work or actually doing the work. So if we're going to invest that much time into it, I think we need to think quite carefully about the choices that we make when we decide to pursue a career or pursue a particular project. And so I think that would be the thing that I would probably want to focus on. It's just sort of be thoughtful about where you're choosing to spend your time and energy. I don't subscribe to the way of thinking that says, "Oh, I'm going to do this because it pays lots of money or something." I think the race is long, and the economic outcomes of our work will come if we're doing valuable things. So I think focus on why this job or opportunity is meaningful, or why this business idea is meaningful, why I can be successful with it and make an impact, and will I learn something valuable in that process? And if I were to do all of these things, would it be a net positive, for society at large, for the people around me? I think that last lens is, one that I thought consciously of a little bit later in my life than I would have liked. But it's something that maybe someone who's starting out today, quite naturally gravitates to, given the fact that technology can have such a big impact on our lives. I think we want to be doing things that are, part of the solution of the problem.
Thank you. I think that's a great analogy. And I appreciate, your perspective. Like I said, I talked to hundreds of colleagues like yourself that share their story, their uniqueness. And again, it's something that will certainly be something very helpful for our audience. Rahul, I just want to let you know it was a pleasure having you on today, and I look forward to speaking with you real soon.
Great. Thanks, Brian.
Bye for now.